and healthcare right from the beginning of the medical career, which subsequently enhances the health promotion activities, which reflects in better health outcomes. Nitai Deemed University was selected for the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan program of MHRD Government of India, a baseline household survey to identify development challenges and in evolving appropriate solutions for accelerating sustainable growth in adopted villages has been completed. YUNSPEC, a marked program for differently abled kids, a Nitai Special Child Care it's called, provides comprehensive health care needs under one roof at zero cost, where the special children are identified, treated and rehabilitated at our health facilities and help nearly 2,500 patients this year. Nitai has adopted Nitai Grama Panchayat under its Smart Village project for changing it into a model with highest possible development geographic unit with socio-economically and technological advancement. Started Namaste Center with an objective of strengthening bonds with Northeastern students of Northeastern states of India through research, educational support and cultural exchanges. This year, University has allocated 25 undergraduate and postgraduate seats free of cost to Northeastern students. The center has started certificate programs in select dialects of the Northeastern states. The University established a Technology Enabling Center with support from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. This center is one among the 9 such centers in the country which was established with support of DSD, Government of India. Green initiatives of the university. In the university Green Initiative project, Nitai Deemed University has conducted tree audit where every tree in the campus was geotagged.
This congregation of Nitai Deemed University has been called to confer the honorary degree of Doctor of Science on Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan and degree upon the candidates who have appeared in the examinations held and have passed the set examinations successfully and are certified to be worthy of receiving the degrees. I declare this convocation open. Let the candidates be presented.
Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan, Chairman, Governing Board, Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, Pune, Honorary Distinguished Advisor ISRO, at this 10th annual convocation being held on this day, the 9th October 2020. Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturi Rangan completed his Bachelor's of Science with honors and Master of Science in Physics from Bombay University and received his doctorate in experimental high energy astronomy in 1971 while working at the Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. His interests include astrophysics, space science and technology, as well as science-related policies. Dr. Kasturi Rangan was with the Indian Space Research Organization ISRO for over a period of nearly 35 years, including nearly 10 years as its chairman from 1994 to 2003. Subsequently, he was a member the upper house of the Indian Parliament, Rajya Sabha, that is 2003 to 2009, and concurrently the director of the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. Later on, he served as a member of the erstwhile Planning Commission, 2009-2014. Dr. Kasturi Rangan was also interested with the task of heading the Karnataka Knowledge Commission as its chairman in 2008 to 2012 and 2013 to 2019. More recently, that is July 2017 to December 2018, he was assigned by the present central government to serve as the chairman of the committee interested in drafting the new national education policy. Dr. Kasturi Rangan presently is the chairman, Governing Board, Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, Pune, Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan, Chairperson, NIIT University, Nimrana, President, Current Science Association, Bangalore, Chairman, Board of Governors, Vikram A. Sarabhai Community Science Center, Ahmedabad, Member, Atomic Energy Commission, Emeritus Professor at National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, and Honorary Distinguished Advisor, ISRO. Dr. Kasturi Rangan was the Satish Dhawan Chair of Engineering Eminence instituted by Indian National Academy of Engineering from 2015 to 2017. He has also occupied important positions in some of the leading academic institutions of India, such as being the Chairman, Board of Governors, Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai, Chairman, Council of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, President, Court of Indian Institute of Science, Chancellor, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, Chairman, Council of Raman Research Institute, Bangalore, among others. Dr. Kasturi Rangan is a member of several international and national science academies, including being the fellow of all the 4 major science and engineering academies of India. Among others, he is a member of the International Astronomical Union, fellow of the World Academy of Sciences, honorary fellow of the Cardiff University, UK, academician of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, Vatican City. Dr. Kasturi Rangan is the only Indian to be conferred the honorary membership of the International Academy of Astronautics, besides being its vice president from 2003 to 2005. Dr. Kasturi Rangan has won several awards, including Bronze Medal of International Society of Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing, Alan B. Mill Memorial Award of the International Astronautical Federation in 2004, Lifetime Achievement Award of Asia Pacific Satellite Communications Council, Singapore, Theodore von Karman Award by International Academy of Astronautics in 2017, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in Engineering in 1981, Aryabhatta Medal by Indian National Science Academy in 2000, Ratindra Puraskar 2002 of Vishwabharati Shantiniketan, Aryabhatta Award of Astronomical Society of India in 2003, Lifetime Achievement Award of ISRO in 2008, Vikram Sarabhai Memorial Gold Medal in 2009 by Indian Science Congress, Deshikottam Award in 2013 of Vishwabharati Shantiniketan, and Hari Om Ashram Prerit Senior Scientist Award in 2016 by Physical Research Laboratory. He has also been conferred honorary doctorates from 26 universities or research institutions. Dr. Kasturi Rangan is the recipient of many civilian awards at the state, national and international levels. The prominent ones include the Rajyotsava Award in 2014 conferred by Government of Karnataka, the highest civilian honors of Padma Shri in 1992, Padma Bhushan in 1992 and Padma Vibhushan in 2000 conferred by the President of India, and award of Officer of the Legion d'Honneur 2002 by the President of the French Republic, France. In recognition of his yeoman service to the field of science and technology, NITE, deemed to be university, is pleased to confer on Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan the Doctor of Science, DSc honoris causa on this day, the 9th day of October 2020. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
University, Dr. M. Shantaram Shetty and Sri Vishal Hegde, the Pro-Chancellors, Dr. Satish Kumar Bhandari, Vice Chancellor, and all the members of the Board of Management of Abbakka University for this honor done to me. I treat it as a unique privilege to receive this in the forum graced by the eminent Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Deputy Director General and Chief Scientist of the World Health Organization. I use this opportunity to congratulate all the students who are graduating from this renowned institution, which has carved a niche for itself among the best institutions of higher learning in the state. My own life over the years has been considerably influenced by my teachers, mentors, and many well-wishers. I would like to single out 3 of those who played a significant role in shaping my career full of exciting challenges. I would like to recall in this connection the role of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who was leading groups in astronomy and astrophysics at the Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad. I got the opportunity of joining this team for pursuing my PhD degree. Here, I may mention, served as the cradle of India's space program under his visionary leadership and guidance. This year, I learned the methods of scientific research, which in turn shaped my capabilities of training the mind for incisive thinking and critical analysis. Dr. Sarabhai was instrumental in the first major decision relating to my professional career. I completed my PhD and was ready to accept a postdoctoral fellowship at the University of California at Berkeley. When Dr. Sarabhai heard about this, he immediately reacted to me by giving me an alternate for the future, particularly emphasizing the emerging challenges and excitements in the new field of space research on this country, on which this country was embarked. He went on to emphasize, there is nothing like working in our own country when such opportunities present themselves. The deep conviction in his advice and the persuasive powers of his argument left me with no alternative than to work in my own country. In retrospect, I don't regret in following his prophetic advice. Professor Dhawan, a distinguished professor in aeronautics and an educationist, succeeded Dr. Sarabhai at the head of India's space program. He was a man who sought high degree of professionalism and perfection in any task that he assigned to his juniors. Working with him gave me insights into the intricacies of management of a system as complex as space, also the process of decision making and the culture of transparency. He insisted on adopting practices of rigorous analysis and identifying multiple pathways to decision making and thus providing an optimal solution as distinct from a perfect one. The third chairman of his role, with whom I worked, was Professor Yuval Rao. He was a well-known cosmic ray physicist and an astronomer, and a man in hurry. His dynamism, restlessness to achieve the result, and with right application of mind stemming from his deep familiarity with scientific methods, made him a unique leader. Working with him in building India's first satellite, Abbakka, was a great experience of practicing scientific rigor, technological challenges, adhering to strict controls on schedules and budgets, creating new organizational structures, and above all, working with the culture of another country, at that time, the Soviet Union. It was a total experience, systemic, if I am permitted to say so, and it gave me crucial insights about how to deal with realizing multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary outcomes. What is equally important to recognize is that starting from scratch and with the need to learn the ABC of building a satellite, we were given just 36 months to complete the task, and we did it in 40 months. In the years following working with these leaders, I remember with gratitude all these great men and many others with whom I had the fortune of working, and because of whom I had a satisfying and fulfilling professional life. Before I conclude, there is a small observation in the context of higher education, which I would like to share with all of you. Since time immemorial, we have practiced a holistic approach to knowledge acquisition and dissemination. The variety of courses in which education is imparted in your university places you in an advantageous position to bring in holistic approach to the pedagogy. In this context, I would like to bring the tales of a strong emphasis on holistic and multidisciplinary education, which is also called as liberal education in contemporary discussions. It is needless to go into the details of this entire audience about the role of liberal education and effective means to develop the freedom to think critically and independently and to cultivate one's mind to its full potential. It is often lamented that India produces very competent engineers but falls short of being very innovative. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, was famous for his idea in what makes products successful. According to him, the season was to bring top-notch aesthetics with top-notch engineering. He himself is known to have said about why Macintosh computer revolutionized computing, and I quote, "I think part of what made Macintosh great was the people working on it were musicians and poets and artists and zoologists and historians who also happen to be best computer scientists in the world. With an ecosystem which is conducive to bring the best of engineering with the expert drawn from science, arts and humanities, one would really transform the outcome of an education to create top-notch innovators, not only in the context of engineering, but also by marrying science education with arts and humanities and other fields." Once again, I would like to express my grateful thanks to Sri Vinay Gandhi and all of you for this honor. Thank you.
Science, Biomedical Sciences, Master of Science, Food Safety and Biotechnology, and remaining candidates eligible for the award of these degrees are present.
All the candidates presented to the various degrees as set out in the list under the faculties of medicine, dental sciences, pharmaceutical sciences, nursing, physiotherapy, biological sciences, humanities and architecture, and in token thereof, they have been presented with these degrees. Your speech and conduct should befit the degrees awarded to you.
Populations. TB Zero City project was her brainchild to develop islands of elimination, working with local governments and institutions and grassroots associations. As a distinguished medical scientist with more than 350 peer-reviewed publications and book chapters, her outstanding research contribution enabled her to earn the unique distinction of being elected Fellow of United States National Academy of Medicine and 3 prestigious national academies: the Indian National Science Academy, National Academy of Medical Sciences, and the Indian Academy of Sciences. From 2009 to 2011, she served as coordinator of the UNICEF, UNDP, World Bank, and WHO Special Program for Research and Training of Tropical Diseases at WHO in Geneva, and was the chair of or member of several WHO and global advisory bodies and committees. Her credentials saw her hold the prestigious position of Secretary, Department of Health Research and Director General of the Indian Council of Medical Research from 2015-2017, where she focused on bringing science and evidence into health policy making, building research capacity in Indian medical schools, and forging South-to-South partnership in health sciences arena. She joined the World Health Organization in Geneva in the year 2017 as Deputy Director General and was the first Indian to occupy this coveted post. In view of her vast research experience, she was designated Chief Scientist and first to adorn this newly created prestigious position in WHO, in which she has responsibility to coordinate and drive research priorities across technical departments and regional offices and provide strategic direction to research and innovation. Her vision is to ensure that WHO is at the cutting edge of science and is able to translate new knowledge into meaningful impact on population health worldwide. A pediatrician from India and a globally recognized researcher on tuberculosis and HIV, she brings with her 30 years of experience in clinical care and research and works throughout to translate research into impactful programs. Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, I have the honor to request you, Madam, to deliver the convocation address.
In which we live and the way in which we are working these days.
Respected Chancellor of Nite University, Vice Chancellor, Pro-Chancellors, the officers of the university, Professor Kasturi Rangan, on whom an honoris causa will be conferred today, and who's one of the great scientists of India, officers and students of the university, as well as guests.
I'm Soumya Swaminathan, and I'm the Chief Scientist at the World Health Organization, and for the last 9 months have been deeply involved in the response to the pandemic. We, of course, are living in unprecedented times. This convocation is happening at an unprecedented time, but it is good to see that life goes on, that things go on, that particularly education, that there is no break in these critical areas of our lives. Though there are many other areas, of course, that we have put a break to and which can wait, which are not urgent priorities, but health and education are very, very important. I'd like to say a little bit perhaps about where we are today in the pandemic and what we can look ahead to, and also reflect on the lessons that I have learned for science and for public health. So we are achieving rather grim milestones this week, crossing over 32 million known cases and over 1 million deaths. And we know that this is the tip of the iceberg, that there are probably 10 times as many cases as have been diagnosed, and probably many, many more deaths than have been counted. A pandemic is not something that we see frequently. This is probably the biggest, and let's hope the worst one, that we're going to see in our lifetimes. But the fact is that over years, viruses have made the jump from the animal kingdom to human beings. We've seen it with HIV, we've seen it with the SARS-1 virus, with Zika, with Nipah virus, with Ebola, and there's a long list of other less known viruses which cause small outbreaks and epidemics, which do not become global pandemics. But this kind of jumping of viruses from animals to humans, it happens, and this is why the concept of One Health is so important. The way in which we are living in harmony with environment and with the animal kingdom is very critical. And as human beings have been sort of exerting their own footprint to the detriment of the environment, what we call the Anthropocene era, we are deforesting at a rate that is unimaginable. The Antarctic is melting, glaciers around the world are melting. We see the forest fires, the floods, the unprecedented weather and events that have happened more and more and more frequently in the past decade. Every year we break temperature records. All of this points towards the inexorable march towards climate change and destruction of the environment. And zoonotic infections also happen when this happens. When we move animals and insects and birds out of their natural habitat by deforestation, by urbanization, we encourage the coming together of species which normally may not have come so close. And also the illegal trade in wildlife also plays a role, because when you have illegal trade in wildlife, these animals are getting moved into markets and are getting exposed to other domesticated animals and to human beings, creating an environment where viruses can actually jump from one species to another. So while we are still investigating the origins of the SARS-CoV-2 virus and what animal was the intermediate host, we believe that the virus originated from bats, but that there may have been an intermediate host, and that is work in progress. So WHO, working with FAO, with the International Organization for Animal Health, are promoting this concept of looking at One Health, both to prevent future pandemics and also to address the issues of antimicrobial resistance, where again the use of antibiotics in animals, the waste and spillover of antibiotics into the environment, into the soil and water, and the inappropriate use of antibiotics in humans all contribute to antimicrobial resistance. And in a way, we can actually imagine now what it would be like to have pathogens with no cures, just as we are seeing with the SARS-CoV-2 virus. If we had bacteria which are currently treatable, but if they became resistant, you would see a same thing happening with bacteria which could spread around the world, killing people, for which no drugs are working. So it's a very serious situation that we have to take action on today. So as we think about the pandemic and how we recover from it, how we rebuild for the future, we need to also think about these other big major threats to humanity, and two of them are climate change and antimicrobial resistance. We need to invest in a future which is greener and which is more sustainable. And we have seen that many of our health problems today come from social and environmental determinants of health and risk factors, which are not purely related within the healthcare system. The healthcare system is designed to detect and treat diseases and keep people well. It's more focused on the curative aspects. But if you really look at what causes the majority of illness or health problems, we have to think upstream. We have to think about prevention and health promotion. So what are those risk factors or determinants of health? These are straightforward. They are things like having clean water, having sanitation, clean air. So 9 out of 10 people today breathe air which is not of the quality that is considered healthy. 9 out of 10 people globally. And we know that air pollution is a huge problem in many cities in India. Housing, shelter, nutrition, access to nutritious, balanced meals, not just the macronutrient content, but micronutrients as well. Physical exercise, mental health, road safety. We know that over 100,000 people die of road traffic accidents every year in India alone. Globally, it's over 1.3 million. These are all factors. Tobacco and alcohol are the other two, which need action, which is, first of all, it's more on the preventive side, on the upstream side, but it's also related to other departments or agencies, not within, let's say, the ministries or departments of health. And this is where the concept of the all of government approach and the all of society approach really come in a big way. And health needs to be considered in every policy that is made. We need to look at what is the repercussions on health for having a certain policy. It may be related to agriculture, it could be related to the way water is being managed, it could be related to the way that roads are being designed or housing is being designed. All of these things ultimately play an important part in our health, and particularly we need to focus on our cities. We know that cities are growing across the world. People are moving from rural into urban areas, and if cities grow in an unplanned way, then they will contribute to further ill health and further inequities. We've seen that the pandemic has also exposed the inequalities in society. They have worsened the inequities. So people who are the most vulnerable, the most marginalized, and the minorities in countries around the world, we've seen they're disproportionately affected. So the CDC, for example, came out with data showing that the mortality rate among the Black and the Hispanic populations in the US was perhaps 2 times that of the white American population. Similarly, in the UK, we've seen data that shows that the British Asian minorities, African and Asian ethnic minorities, had a much higher incidence of the infection and a much higher incidence of severe illness, hospitalization, and death. So, socioeconomic disparities impact health outcomes. This is something that we've known all along, but it's become very clear now during the pandemic. So perhaps when we are looking ahead, some of the lessons that we've learned now, from the data that has come, is something we need to apply into planning for future health systems. Like I said, focusing on health promotion and disease prevention, as well as on making sure that people who have an illness are diagnosed and taken care of. In terms of investments into research, I think here again we've seen that the solutions for getting over the acute phase of the pandemic have come from science, will come from science. And from the very beginning, WHO, we were focused on this aspect. So from the day that we came to know about this new virus or the new pneumonia, unusual pneumonia cases that were happening in Wuhan, and very soon after that, the genetic sequence of the virus was made publicly available on January the 11th. So within 2 weeks, we already knew that there was this new coronavirus, and we knew its genetic sequence that actually enabled scientists both to work on diagnostics. So within 2 days, in fact, we had the diagnostic SOPs, standard operating procedures, reagents were being prepared and shipped out, and labs around the world were able to set up their RT-PCR to diagnose infection. And it was because the genetic sequence of the virus was made available so soon. So this is quite a contrast to what has happened in the past. Secondly, vaccine development also started very soon. Again, because investments in platforms, vaccine platforms, over the last few years by organizations like CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation, and other funding agencies, had created vaccine platforms where you could quickly use it to develop a vaccine for a new or an unknown pathogen. Now, the WHO in 2016 developed something called the R&D blueprint. This is a framework to address the research needs of rare pathogens which can cause terrible disease, but which are neglected because they are rare or they occur in localized outbreaks. And so there isn't a lot of investment. There isn't really a market demand for diagnostics or vaccines or drugs. At the same time, these are important. So the R&D blueprint actually lays out a roadmap for how you would go about developing a diagnostic, a therapeutic, or a vaccine for a list of these 10 diseases. Most of them are these viral infections like Ebola and Lassa fever, MERS, Nipah, etc. But on that list was a disease called pathogen X or disease X, which means that an unknown disease can occur at any time with a pathogen which is most likely to be a virus and most likely to be a zoonotic virus and most likely to be a respiratory pathogen. So all this was predicted several years ago, and scientists knew that this would happen one day. It was a question of when and not if that there would be a pandemic caused by this type of a virus. So we were prepared with this R&D blueprint. We activated that. We got the networks of scientists together. The blueprint actually regularly convenes a global coordinating mechanism. There's a scientific advisory group. So all that was in place, and so we were able to move very rapidly. And by the middle of February, we had developed a research roadmap. 400 scientists from around the world, including from India, took part in those discussions. And in July, we had an update where we were able to listen to all the new knowledge that has been generated and what are the remaining knowledge gaps. And so as part of that, we also had groups that started working on vaccine development, on developing core protocols for research, on standardizing laboratory assays, on harmonizing animal experiments, and especially to assess new vaccines or new drugs. And all of that has really helped. And this involved both public sector and private sector, because we know that ultimately the development of products happens in the private sector. So you need that collaboration. You need public agencies, government agencies, academic institutions, and the private sector to work together. And the private sector has come forward in a big way, and many of them have made commitments to sharing technologies, to sharing knowledge. So there's also been a lot of open data sharing, open knowledge sharing. We need to promote that and make it much more sustainable for the future. So I think some of the lessons that we are learning on how product development can be accelerated. We have never seen things developed at this speed. We've now got rapid antigen tests, we've got rapid antibody tests, we've got a variety of RT-PCR platforms. We have a lot of innovative new diagnostics also being developed using different novel technologies. We've seen that vaccines have gone from the lab into human testing within a matter of 3 to 6 months. All of this is unprecedented. And so we've proved that it's possible, that it can happen. And if it can be done for the COVID-19, there's no reason why we can't do it for other diseases like tuberculosis, like malaria, which take lives, millions of lives every year, and for which we have not really accelerated the pace of R&D as we have been able to do. So I think for me, that's a very big learning, and also the model of open sharing, of having technology pools, which enable rapid uptake of technology and rapid dissemination of technology and knowledge, sharing of data, sharing of health data. So we of course get data from countries around the world on certain statistics, but it's possible to go much beyond that. The way we have learned about the disease, its clinical manifestations and its treatment has all been because people have been sharing the data as soon as possible through these open access journals. All journals have made their COVID material open access, but also through preprint archives. And another lesson that we can learn is that clinical trials need to be coordinated and conducted in a way in which you can answer the questions. What we've seen is a proliferation of clinical trials and studies, with over 5,000 being registered in the clinical trial registry platform, but very few of them actually yield results which are useful. So we've seen a few good examples of large trials, including the WHO Solidarity trial, which have been able to enroll large numbers of patients across multiple countries. So, you also get that diversity to be able to answer questions on whether a certain drug works or doesn't work for this disease. And we want to do the same thing for vaccines in order to enable as many vaccine candidates as possible to have a good chance of being tested and proved to be effective and safe or not. We need that robust scientific evidence to help us for the future. So again, we're learning about how coordination and collaboration and scientific global collaboration can help drive knowledge very, very fast, very quickly. And people have come forward and been willing to work together. So that's another very positive outcome for me. And the last thing is really about science communication and how the public trust in institutions, in scientists, and in messaging can be improved. And we've done a lot of work on this because we realized early on that there was a proliferation, huge, of knowledge. We, in fact, coined the term infodemic. So you have the pandemic and the epidemic, but you also have an infodemic. You are flooded with information. And a lot of it is untrue or misinformation or false. For ordinary people, it's very difficult to tell the difference. And so what that results in is a big questioning of science itself, because people then get confused. They think scientists are changing their mind all the time. But in fact, that's how science actually evolves. Science is not black and white, neither is it one day to the next. It is an incremental process. As scientists, we all know that knowledge, evolves over time, and you have to change your policies based on the new knowledge. You don't get fixed just because you said something 3 months ago, but today the knowledge you have is different. You need to adapt to that. So this is where the lay person thinks that scientists got it wrong, but it's not that. So we have to explain how science functions to people, and we also have to communicate to them in a language that they understand. Simple language, giving examples, doing animation. So we've worked to really try to address this. We work with social media companies, tech companies. We work with over 40 tech companies to make sure that our messages go across. So we have bots which you can access in WhatsApp for, I think, in 25 or 26 languages now. We have, of course, all our social media platforms where we regularly have question-answer sessions. We We have press conferences initially daily, now twice a week, right from the beginning of the pandemic, where we talk to journalists from around the world. We have a Mythbuster page on our website where you can go and see the common myths and we give the real facts. And we work with social media companies to address false or misleading posts or articles which we flag to them, and they immediately either take it off or they put a big disclaimer on top of that. So because we know that social media can be used both to drive good things and disseminate good information, but also it could be used to disseminate rumors and things which actually tend to spread much faster. So we have to be all the time addressing that, and especially now with vaccines, with a lot of discussion going on, and some of it is raising questions about when a vaccine will be available, how is a vaccine tested, can you be sure that it is safe and effective when it is made available. So it's really important for us to understand what questions people have and to be able to address them, and to be open and transparent and explain the facts and be driven by data and science. And finally, I would like to say that, when we look around the world, we see countries that have done well in controlling the outbreak. Very early on, they acted fast, there was strong political leadership, they acted on the advice of scientists and public health experts, and they contained the infection, and many of them have been able to keep it low, though of course you can't eliminate the virus, so you will get outbreaks and clusters from time to time, but those can be controlled using the public health measures that we know work. But we've also seen the opposite. We've seen, countries where the infection has gone out of hand, where there hasn't been that good communication with people, and where people also have not really followed because of their lack of trust or because of the politicization of, very basic things like wearing a mask, for example. It's just a public health measure, and so it should be treated as that. So I think we need to look at all of these things and reflect on them and think about the future and how we might want to handle and what we would need to do to prepare ourselves. And I think, ultimately I would say that we need to think about really building up our institutions, building the scientific capacity and capability, ensuring that there is collaboration between the various scientific institutions and scientific agencies, because that always helps. You have a lot of competencies, but they may be scattered. So once you bring them together in a network, then you're much stronger together. Science communication is extremely important. And looking ahead to the future, I think really thinking in a much more holistic manner about health in relation to the environment that we live in, and in relation to trying to have a more sustainable future for all of us and for future generations. So I'm sure that the students who are getting their degrees and who are going to move on to their next phase of their life have big challenges ahead, but they can also be optimistic and look forward to the future, because it's the next generation that's going to really lead us. We can only share our experiences, and they need to make sure that the world that we are living in, going to enter, is going to be greener, it's going to be safer, and it's going to be fairer for everybody. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and again, congratulations to all those who are graduating or getting their degrees today, and thanks to the university for having invited me to share my thoughts with you.
Call upon the PhD awardees, gold medal awardees, and the merit certificate awardees to receive their degree of the 10th annual convocation of NITTE deemed to be university. May I request our Honorable Pro-Chancellor along with the Vice Chancellor to award the degrees to the eligible candidates. First, I will be calling the candidates of PhD awardees. Dr. Saumi Samuel, Shilpa Shetty, Dr. Nalini M. Dr. Ratika Shanai. Dr. Meenakshi A. Dr. Hiresh Shetty. Dr. Preetika A. Dr. Chetan Hegde. Anand Ben Mascarenhas. Dr. Ravi G.S. Dr. Ullal Harshini Devi. Dr. Soumya Srivastava. Now I will be calling upon Vasanti Shantaram Shetty Endowment Gold Medal instituted by Dr. Sanjana Shetty for the top scorer in MD Radio Diagnosis. This candidate Dr. Sharmila S. has secured Nitte University Gold Medal and late Sri Mulki Ram Mohan Adi. Aparna Baburaj has secured Nitte University Gold Medal. Apurva H. Shetty has secured the second highest merit certificate in Anesthesia and Operation Theatre Technology. Bhavya B. has secured the second highest merit certificate in Medical Laboratory Technology. Dr. Sheth Priyal Pankaj has secured. Dr. Priya Philip. Dr. Kevin Teng Chuang Ho. Dr. Darren Floyd Rodriguez, Endowment Gold Medal instituted by alumni of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics for being the topper in the subject of Conservative Dentistry. Anjali Krishna. Sharanya M. Sita Lakshmi. Anusha S. has secured the second highest merit certificate in biomedical honors. Kavyashree has secured the Nitte University Gold Medal for being the topper in re-architecture. Fatima Matia Hanes has secured the second highest merit certificate in VR program. Thank you, one and all.
We are conducting this very prestigious function virtually, but taking all your health into consideration, who are in different parts of the world and in our own country, and taking the government rule into consideration, we had no other way but to conduct this convocation virtually. Yes, our Vice Chancellor in his own inimitable way said how we have progressed in the last 12 years of the inception of the university. Yes, you compare it with any other university of of the same growth. When from childhood you go into adolescence, it's the period you look into what you have achieved and what mistakes you have done. He rightly gave the list of awards which I have won, from the NAC accreditation into A, the MHRD into A, and the 74th rank in the NIRF, and so many awards. And the rankings which I have undertaken stands a testimony to the growth and vibrancy of our university for the last 10 years. And the entire strength and entire credit goes to you, the students who have passed out and who have graduated just now and to be graduated tomorrow. And to you teachers who are seated in the front and in the back, and all those who have been responsible, and the administration at large. It's the collective wisdom of each one of us which have made it what is possible today and to be. Today to you graduates, the new postgraduates, congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations again. It is your day. You have dreamt for this day. You have burnt your midnight lamp day in and out to secure that doctorate, to secure that master's or that bachelor's degree. But remember, there are 3 important people who are behind you for securing that 2-worded degrees after you. First of all, it was your parents. And many of you in the virtual mode must be at your own homes, sitting beside your parents, your father and your mother. And it is time you thank them. Say thank you, Papa, and thank you, Mama, for what you have done to me, for what you have done to me. You do not know how much of loan they might have taken, how many temples they would have visited, how many prayers they would have envisaged to see that my daughter or son passes through his examination. And pay your tribute to your parents rightly and bow your heads. Number 2 is your teachers who are seated in front of you, there, who have made it possible for you. Sanskrit, of all the languages, is the mother of all languages. In Sanskrit, rightly defines a teacher. A teacher who comes and takes classes and tells what is in the textbook is an Abbakka. A teacher who imparts knowledge is a Upadhyaya. A teacher who inputs skill is called an Acharya. A teacher who goes into the depth of knowledge of each of your subject is called a Pandit. A combination of all these, but a person who holds your hand and makes you a good human being of tomorrow. A mentor is called a Guru. We in Nitya University, majority of our teachers are Acharyas or Pandits, but many of them are real Gurus. So it is time, dear graduates, you bow your heads to these Gurus who have made it possible for you to be what you are today. The next phase is your institution. Institution which has made it possible. Remember, the administration, right from the Chancellor to the Vice Chancellor to everyone concerned, the deans, have sweated, dreamed, and gave you whatever facilities they could, whether it's the playground or the laboratories or whatever it is. They have made it possible to tune you, to embalm you, to sculpture you, to be what you are today. And thank them and become an alumni. And when you come back after 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, you will see the revolution which has taken place in this institution and be a part of it. Finally, dear graduates, Soumya Swaminathan, in her own inimitable way, rightly told us that we are passing through one of the most difficult periods in the history of mankind. It is true, the smallpox has killed more than 100 million people. Spanish flu has killed 50 million people. And the plague as such has killed more than 1 million people again. And this pandemic which Dr. Soumya rightly mentioned, has already killed more than 16 million people, and in our own country, 1.5 million people. And she gave a challenge to each one of you to make a difference. My generation of people, very few are here, were the post-World War era or the post-independent era of people. Remember, World War II killed 100 million people all around the world. And the colonization of America killed more than 100 million people. The Mongols killed more than 50 million people. So today, to control this pandemic, you have a vital role to play. We had the most difficult time when we passed out, but the best of the time. We faced it. The post-World War era people, the graduates and the postgraduates. And you are those, the post-World War era graduates and postgraduates. You have a challenge with you. And you will have to educate the masses to see that discipline is undertaken, as Dr. Swaminathan has rightly said. We have failed in this world, in this country, because there was no discipline. Because they would not wear masks. They would not wash their hands. They would not have physical distance. So God has given you this opportunity. Somebody asked me, an youngster, my own grandson, will we be normal again with this, after this pandemic? Where is normalcy? We have never been normal. All over the world, from United States down to Australia or to the Middle East, we were hypocritical. We were fighting for religion. We are fighting wars. We are killing animals. We are cutting trees. As Dr. Soumya said, we never bothered about greenery or the weather. So it is up to you, the younger generation. What my generation has done or the present generation has done is a different question. The challenge is on you. And see that you take it. It is an opportunity, God-given opportunity. Forget what has happened and have love, have compassion, have understanding, and overcome greed. Overcome greed, which I repeat, which is the causative factor for all evils. With this little thought of mine, dear graduates, on behalf of all of us here, we wish you all well. We wish you all well to be not only prosperous, not only attain whatever you dream for, but to be a good citizen of this country, of this world, to leave a better tomorrow for you and to your children and to your grandchildren. Thank you very much again.
The University, Dr. Satish Kumar Bhandari, Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. M.S. Mudiktaya, Registrar, Dr. Alka Kulkarni, members of the Board of Management, Academic Council, University officials, head of the constituent colleges, distinguished invitees, faculty members, recipients of PhD degree, gold medal and rank holders, graduate members of press and media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to participate in this virtual convocation. First of all, as the Chancellor of Nitte deemed to be University, let me congratulate all graduating students here who have worked very hard to be part of this milestone event. You are indeed blessed to have the right spirit, guidance from talented advisors and seniors, proper academic ecosystem, supporting parents, and be graduating today in your chosen field in spite of current difficult situation. I wish you the best of luck in your journey forward and hope that you will make a substantial contribution not only to your personal growth but also to your family and more importantly your country, your profession, your community, to our great nation and world at stage. You, the batch 2020, are very special and history would remember you as a batch of students who have graduated in the most challenging year ever for the whole mankind. While on the subject, I would like to record the gratitude of the University to late Justice K.S. Hegde and his wife Meenakshi Hegde, who were the mentors and also the promoters of the education system in this campus. I'm grateful to them and I'm sure wherever they are, they would be satisfied with the growth and the contribution we are making to the field of education. First of all, I must tell you that this convocation is made possible because of the university commitment to ensuring that the exam for the final year students were conducted on time in a safe environment. Secondly, recognizing that the fact good teachers are very precious in spite of the challenges posed by COVID-19 situation. Every teaching, non-teaching staff has taken care of by the university with full benefit. Measures were taken to upgrade their skills to help them to be better teachers and researchers during these difficult times. The university has invested in technology, especially in brand new online learning system, signed MOUs, online programs like Coursera to make and strengthen online teaching. The campus is now being prepared for the safe return of your juniors, as learning cannot stop irrespective of the nature of challenges we face. We continue to serve the community by caring for COVID-19 patients at the university hospital, by partnering with the government and non-government organizations, by extending a helping hand to the needy. I'm proud to say the hospital, which is part of this university, was first among the medical colleges to offer testing of COVID patients. And we are also among the first in this part of the country to offer plasma treatment for suffering COVID patients. All these efforts have helped your university to be recognized as a leading university of the country. I assure you that the university would take all necessary steps to be a center of excellence even under National Education Policy 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to briefly tell you about the future programs of this institution. This institution, which was started with 4 education institutions, to name them, the Dental College, the Medical College, the Pharmacy College, and Nursing College, today has a host of education institutions offering and delivering to the country 1,007 graduates every year. And I'm also grateful to Nitte Education Trust, who have nurtured these institutions in the initial stages and today offered it to the Nitte deemed to be university. I'm looking forward to the pleasure and privilege of having another 10 new colleges which are currently under the management of NITE Education Trust to come into the fold of NITE deemed to be university. I'm sure when these institutions join NITE deemed to be university, there are 1,007 graduates passing